Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the From the Sideline podcast with Francis
and Peter. And today we're going to be talking about Zach Wilson and the Jets, Devon Witherspoon, the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and the Seahawks, our predictions for Week 4, and then finally some college football at the end.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow and listen to our other episodes. We had our club fair today, and it was a complete success for our sports journalism club. And finally, we have a special guest with us today. His name is Cole Bell. He is a varsity lacrosse player at SAS, had the most goals in Metro this season. Say what's up to.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to start off talking about Zach Wilson today. So, Zach Wilson, the first quarterback to ever outperform Patrick Mahomes in a single game. Peter, has Zach Wilson redeemed himself as a starting quarterback in the league?
Well, it's his first really good game. I mean, I can't even think of the last time he actually had a good game. But he played great. He was hitting his throws well. And when Zach Wilson plays well, the rest of the Jets play well, and it was really evident. Garrett Wilson got way more targets. He was playing way better. And I just think that when Zach Wilson's playing well, the Jets are a Super Bowl contending team. What do you think, Cole?
Adding on to that, I think the most important part of the NFL is consistency. So right now I'm a little still uncertain about Zach Wilson, but if he can prove to me in these next 2 weeks that he's still deserving of the Jets starting quarterback position, then he's got my vote.
I completely agree with Cole. Consistency, I think, is the key here. But, I mean, Zach Wilson would have to play like a straight 13 games of playing good for me to have my vote, or at least like 9 out of the 12 games playing good, or else he's out of there and they're gonna need a new quarterback, Caleb Williams of the sorts maybe. So yeah.
One of the biggest things from Week 4 that happened was the Seahawks and their defensive masterclass on Monday Night Football. Devon Witherspoon with that 97-yard pick six to put the Seahawks up. He was all over the place, making tackles for loss, getting sacks. It was insane, and this really just makes him jump into the lead for Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he's very clearly the front runner right now. He was great in coverage, great tackling, very physical. He wasn't getting too many penalties. He's a great player, and he's going to continue to develop, and I'm not just saying that as a biased Seahawks fan. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, I definitely agree. His ability just to be all over the field and his quickness and his agility and speed just to defend the Seahawks defenses was amazing. I think the big bummer for the Seahawks was definitely the Jamal Adams concussion, but hopefully he can come back in a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe even next week, and maybe he can bounce back.
Peter said that Devon Witherspoon is clearly the front runner for defense player or rookie of the year, and I think he is, but I don't think it's clear. And according to PFF, they don't think it's clear either. I just saw an Instagram post. I'm not sure if it's PFF, but they had their rankings for defensive rookie of the year, and Devon Witherspoon wasn't even top 3. So I was a little confused about that. I think he should definitely easily be top 2, but him and Jalen Carter, I think, is the real question right now. Christian Gonzalez going out with the season-ending injury, but Devon Witherspoon really came in, and with the absence of Jamal Adams leaving early in the game, he really filled in that nickel spot really, really well. He's playing really physical. I had my concerns about him as a top 5 pick. I thought we should have picked Jalen Carter, but this game really answered all my questions. He was really physical all over the place. 2 sacks for a cornerback in one game with a 97-yard pick six, and I think 7 solo tackles is incredible. So if he can keep that kind of performance up for the rest of the season, I think he can easily secure the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think 2 more weeks of him playing lights out like he did. He doesn't even have to play as well as he did against the Giants, but just more great plays from him will definitely cement him as a big contender for this Defensive Rookie of the Year position.
We've seen glimpses of this Devon Witherspoon from weeks 1 through 3, but he really broke out in Week 4. He seems way more comfortable out there. He knows his role. He's super physical. He's all over the place. The Seahawks are letting him do what he's best at, and this is going to continue throughout the whole season. So that's why I firmly believe that he's going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
All right, now we're getting into our weekly game. Me and Peter's predictions for the next week. So scoring goes, if you pick one lock prediction for next week, and then 2 underdogs that you think will win. If you get your lock right, you get 1 point. If you get your lock wrong, you lose 3 points. If you get your underdog right, you get 2 points, and if you get your underdog wrong, you don't lose anything. So I'm currently sitting at 8 points, and Peter is sitting at 4 points. So Peter, let me go with your picks here.
All right, for my lock, I got the Ravens over the Steelers. The Steelers have been horrible. They got Trubisky starting this week. There's not much that really needs to be explained. Lamar's playing like himself. He's playing great. The Ravens they're obviously going to win here. And then for my first upset, I got the Saints over the Patriots. Personally, I don't know how the Patriots were favored in this game. The Saints are definitely a better team. Mac Jones, I really don't believe in him as a quarterback. In the Saints, they got Derek Carr. They got Chris Olave, who's going to pick it up. He just didn't have a good week last week. So I think it's a pretty obvious game for the Saints to win here. And then for my last upset, I got the Rams over the Eagles. I kind of had to pick an outlandish one here because Francis had taken up all of the pretty close ones. But the Rams are getting Cooper Kupp back this week, and we saw how they played in week 1. And remember, this team won a Super Bowl 2 or 3 years ago. They still have a lot of pieces from that Super Bowl. They still have their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. And with him getting his number 1 target back, Cooper Kupp, I think that's going to propel this team to a possible victory here. Francis, let's hear yours.
Pretty good picks there. So my lock, we're going to take the Lions over the Panthers. Lions over the Panthers, pretty easy one for me. Seahawks, Bryce Young is back, but honestly, does he even look better than Andy Dalton? Honestly, I think he looks worse. So Bryce Young, not looking like the right pick at number 1. Maybe C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback. So far, it's not even close. C.J. Stroud has been exponentially better. But yeah, the Panthers, pretty bad team. Terrible defense, terrible weapons, terrible run game, terrible everything. Everything is bad on the Panthers. The Lions, Seahawks beat both these teams, but the Lions put up a really good fight. Jared Goff, former Super Bowl contendee. They got really good weapons, really good defense, really good run game. We saw Dave Montgomery play really well. So yeah, Lions over Panthers, pretty easy one for me. Not so much because of the Lions, but more so because of the Panthers. But okay, my first underdog, I got the Jets over the Broncos. I was pretty surprised when I saw the Broncos favored in this game. Broncos are pretty bad. Russ Wilson hasn't been playing that bad, but still like pretty bad. Not really what you paid him to play as. So pretty confident in the Broncos defense with that. Their weapons aren't even great. Their run game is pretty terrible. And then the Jets, Zach Wilson coming off of one of his best games that he's played in his career. Obviously, they have super good weapons, really good run game, good offensive line, really good wide receivers, and then their defense has been – their secondary was supposed to be better, but, they still have potential. And then my second underdog is the Titans over the Colts. This game is like an AFC South 50-50. Like, you could toss it up in there for me, and I couldn't tell you who would win, but I am more confident in a Ryan Tannehill over Anthony Richardson, and that's what it comes down to for me. Anthony Richardson coming off a concussion. He was playing last week and did not play well against the Rams defense. And he's playing against the pretty bad Titans defense, I know. But you got Derrick Henry on the other side. You got Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah. I mean, I couldn't say I'm more confident in the Titans, but I would say that they have more experience under their belt. So, give me the Titans over the Colts in that one. All right, we're going to end it off here. A little bit of shorter episode, I guess, but we've been talking pretty fast. But we're going to end it off with some college football hot takes. So, Cole Bell, let's start it off with you.
Yeah, this week we got Texas and Oklahoma is our number 1 matchup this week. This rivalry called the Red River Rivalry has been going on for a long time. I think almost 120 years. I think this is the 119th year. Dates back pretty far. In the entire 119 years, Texas has been leading the rivalry 53 wins to 50 losses and 5 ties. So pretty even across the two teams. And for this week, we have the Longhorns and the Sooners going up. So my hot take is that the Sooners, number 12 Sooners, are actually going to beat the number 3 Longhorns. Pete?
I'm going to follow that one up with another hot take here, and then we can talk about both of them afterwards. My hot take is definitely very hot, but I got the number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs going down to the 20th ranked 5-0 Kentucky Wildcats. The Wildcats have looked great, even though they lost Will Levis to the draft, and Georgia has been very shaky through their whole season, basically, but especially last week and the week prior. They were down to Auburn at halftime, and they were losing for the large majority of the game, and they barely came back at the end. Their offense has been horrible. Their defense is always good, and it's what's been keeping them in winning games. But their offense has been horrible. Carson Beck has not been good. And Kentucky is just going to show them that how good of a team they are, and they're going to fly up the leaderboard right after this.
I want to follow up on Cole's take with Oklahoma over Texas. Texas, I watched their game over Alabama, their defeat over Alabama. Quinn Ewers is a little bit inconsistent, so I agree with Cole's take here. I could really see Oklahoma beating Texas in this one. Texas is not a really strong team. Xavier Worthy was supposed to be their guy, but he hasn't been playing that well. Quinn Ewers was supposed to be number one one of the best high school prospects of all time, and he has not really shown what. He's
been great.
Well, he was supposed to be easily undisputable number one, but he hasn't been the number one overall pick. Caleb Williams has outshined him, Michael Penix has outshined him, even Shadur Sanders has outshined him. So he's been a little shaky, and their defense has not been great. But Oklahoma is a very, very, and Texas is also known to be some chokers. They were supposed to be good at the start of the season, but then they do really bad in the season. Mm-hmm. This is the first time they've been 5-0 since early 2000s or something. So, Oklahoma, a very good organization.
Yeah, we're talking about 2 5-0 teams right here. So this can either make or break their season right here. A win for Oklahoma this week would mean a pretty good chance of, if they continue to win, of heading to a college championship. And if Texas wins here, this would just be strengthening their case, beating a number 3 ranked Alabama in the second week, and now beating number 12 team Oklahoma in week 5 or week 6. It could just strengthens their road to playoff.
I really agree with Cole here. If Texas does end up winning this game, which is going to be really tough, but I think they'll pull it out. That's gonna probably, it might even push them to number 2, especially if Georgia loses that game. But this is one of the best games of the Red River rivalry, because usually Texas is either better than, far better than Oklahoma, or Oklahoma is far better than Texas. But this year, even though Texas is a little bit higher ranked, they're still very even, and it's going to be a great game throughout all 4 quarters, I think.
Mm-hmm. And no bias with this one, but if Georgia and Texas both lose, like Peter and Cole say, I think, besides Michigan, I think it's a toss-up because, UW hasn't really been playing that great of a competition this season, but I think UW is for sure the number 1 team in the nation. I know we're better than Penn State. I know we're better than Ohio State. Ohio State just has amazing weapons, but Florida State looks so shaky. Texas has been very inconsistent, and Georgia has just not been a number 1 organization. So I really like UW's chances to the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah, and we're talking about UW in Oregon. Oregon and UW both having bye weeks this week before they have their rivalry next weekend on Saturday at 12:30 at Washington Stadium. That's going to be an amazing game. That's a deep rivalry, been happening for forever now, and luckily we'll still be able to watch it next year in the Big Ten. But that'll be a big case to see which team is going to make the top 4.
Personally, I'll be at that Washington-Oregon game.
As will
all of us, Francis included. We're going to be rooting for the Washington Huskies, obviously, and Jalen McMillan. Hopefully the Huskies get him back, and if they do get him back, I think, not even a biased opinion, I think this is an easy win for the Washington Huskies. I know this could be perceived as bias, but Oregon year after year is super highly ranked and then loses a big game, or when they're forced into a big game. Like I'm thinking the first week last year, Georgia just getting destroyed 40-something to nothing. They're really highly ranked based on their recruiting and based on their Nike brand, but Washington is clearly the better team. Their offense is better. Their weapons are better. Their quarterback is better. They have the Heisman winner this year, and I think the Huskies are going to beat them by 2 or more scores.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Michael Penix beat Oregon on the road last year in Eugene, and now we're just going to see if he's going to be able to do it here at Washington Stadium.
Shout out Jeff Budke for this one, but yeah, UW is going to absolutely obliterate Oregon here. So I'm thinking, my prediction, I think UW beats Oregon by three touchdowns. And Cole, you want something to say?
Yeah, I'm going 41-28 is my prediction for the score.
Yeah, really big margins there. So I think it's not going to be really close the whole time. Our offense is just going to just absolutely obliterate and destroy their defense. Michael Penix is going to sauce up their secondary. Bo Nix, fraud, just straight up fraud. Didn't look great at Ole Miss, hasn't looked great at Oregon. He's not even a projected second round pick. Michael Penix is a Heisman front runner, so UW should take this game easily.
Ole Miss.
And a little disclaimer, sorry, it was Auburn, not Ole Miss. So that's gonna wrap up this episode from the Sideline with Francis and Peter. So thank you for listening all the way through the episode. Make sure you follow and watch our other episodes.
Yeah, thank you boys for having me on.
Yep.
If you do go to Seattle Academy, by the way, you should definitely join the Sports Journalism Club.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot me a Francis an email, and we'll get you hooked up. But otherwise, thank you guys for listening. Make sure to follow the podcast, and bye.